For me, architectural practice is a form of gameplay. It involves players, it involves a field, it could be the city, it involves rules and regulations, and sometimes we bend the rules, but we try not to break them. And we're playing against time. I'm the manager, sometimes the player manager. I have a host of employees stroke players within the office. Sometimes they want to transfer, but at all times, it's all about goals. And this one is when you're up against it. Yeah, psychology for architectural practice.
We're on a pretty incredible adventure. We're about to meet a Māori architect named Anthony Hoete, and he's a bit of a genius in the architectural field. He's a professor, and we're going to see, I guess you could call it his spiritual home.
Motiti is an island just off the Bay of Plenty coast near Tauranga. Although it's only 10 square kilometres in size, it's a place full of history.
So how many people live on the island?
Permanent residents, only 30 to 40.
Yeah.
But then in the summertime, that swells to 250. And they just fish, dive, and have fun.
Mean.
Anthony's connected to Motiti through his Ngāti Awa heritage, and one of his most well-known houses is right here. He's showing me some of his own projects, as well as favourite New Zealand houses designed by other architects. What I know already is Anthony spent 30 years overseas building a reputation as a world-class architect, teacher, researcher and developer. He's now a professor at the Auckland University School of Architecture and also involved in several projects he believes could change what we build and how we build it.
Hi, Anthony.
Yeah, kia ora,
What
welcome.
a pleasure, really. Nice to meet you.
Kia ora, Matthew, kia ora, welcome.
I feel very privileged. I've never been over here, and what can I say, like, what a beautiful island.
Well, it's my it's a place close to my heart. It's our ancestral land. It's my tūranga waiwai.
Wow, that's really cool. Are we going to jump in the car? Are we going
Yeah,
to walk? Or are we
let's
going to
go.
drive?
No, do you want to drive?
No, you can drive. You can drive.
The first house Anthony's showing me is just up the road, as is everything on Motiti.
Yeah, so this is the main drag.
To be fair, I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it sure wasn't this.
Okay. Very interesting.
My father, he was retiring, and so asked me to build him a house. At the time, I was living in London, studying at the Bartlett at UCL. And so it does have all the trappings and ambitions and aspirations of probably also the peculiarities that a young architect would put into it. And it's got that kind of strange-looking staircase, but spooky.
And I tell you what, it wouldn't have passed code either.
No, dodge. But then I would say we didn't need planning consents, didn't need resource consents.
Of course, because you're not on the mainland.
No, no, actually, in the mid-90s, we could build it without any permissions.
Now, we all know building consents are there for good reason, but isn't it incredible to see a house where the only restriction was the extent of the architect's imagination? It was a big call to come home from London in the mid-1990s to help his dad out, but then it was Anthony's first big project, and he was keen to prove himself, not only in designing, but getting on the tools too.
Māori didn't have the money to employ builders, so we built it with our own whānau. So I had my father handing me the concrete which we poured down into chutes, and we had my Auntie Kathy on the concrete mixer and Uncle Graham shunting it and shifting it. All the materials were shipped in on a cattle barge. So here was a case of the architect getting involved in the construction. Of course, my father was funding it. That was also the holy triangle of developer, designer, and contractor. So we were totally invested in it.
This is an interesting door.
Yeah.
Where's the handle? Is there a handle?
Oh, we don't do handles, man.
Oh, you don't do handles down here.
We just give it a shoulder barge. Cool. Don't need balustrades, don't need handles. In fact, you don't even need legs underneath the table, you can see.
30 years ago, this would have been probably ahead of its time.
Yeah, it would have been here. There's a curtain track around the outside and the hanging table.
And I take it the back door just slides out.
Yeah, you just punch no handles as usual.
Oh, there you go.
So you go that way, I'll go this way.
I actually love that, how you can kick the front door open, walk through, kick the back door open, and you've got that line of sight to both oceans.
Very abstract, briefly. Our house for one person and a house is a single room. It was basically a place for him to take solitude. And so, as part of that, I wanted it to be as simple as possible, free of adornment and trappings of existence that you might get on the Western mainland.
Anthony's father doesn't live here anymore, and in fact, the house itself may not be standing here too much longer either. So for now then, let's just appreciate what inventiveness and no building consent restrictions can achieve.
It was really an opportunity to really go with it and do big conceptual stuff rather than labour over details. And so you got, you know, really crazy beds as walls, concrete bathrooms, stairs without balustrades, you know, two big doors, but neither of them was the front door. At the time, it was fairly radical, but as a first project, it allowed me to do other things and it got me a certain notoriety. So yeah, it was a Kickstarter, but of course today, you know, with the dreams have now faded slightly and the reality's kicked in. So all good, Kate Pai. Now we look, you know, move on and change. From this dream, others were born.
Excellent. Geez, those old knees, eh? You were flying up there, young man.
Yeah,
it's an outstanding view, isn't it?
Actually, we landed a Robson 800 chopper.
What?
Yes, here.
Okay, that's a bit... Well, why would you land a chopper on the roof when you've got all this space around here?
We used it to land on the roof to test the stability of the table below, put a glass of water on it, and then we landed on it and went down to check if any water had spilled. Filled the cup of water the glass of water to the brim.
You serious?
Yeah, went down and checked and it was good. Because remember over here, Murphy, you don't need engineers.
Oh, you don't need a Robson 800.
You just need a Robson 800 and a glass of water.
There you go.
And that's what you need for your building control certification.
Okay, I get it.
I've only just met Anthony, but already I can see this is a guy who thinks outside the box and has no problem challenging conventional thinking. And I'm sure some of that comes from right here.
It is special. It was the first project, my first opportunity, and it will all represent a time in our lives where we were together as a family building the house.
Seeing Anthony's first professional project has given me an early insight into what his values are, and clearly they're based around people and communities. I'm keen to see some of his more recent work, but before we leave Motiti Island, he's taking me to a special place to meet a special person.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Tēnā kōrua.
Kia ora, Dad. This is Matthew Ridge.
Tēnā koe. Mina mihi tēnā kia ora.
Anthony's iwi is Ngāti Awa, and his hapu, Te Atawai, has an ancient connection to Motiti.
Te kupapa mō tēnei mawe, Motiti, e pai ana haere tā mātu kupapa kia koe, karaiti ake, amen.
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 This is their marae, Anthony's tūranga waiwai, his place to stand and head into the future by looking back and remembering his tupuna, the ancestors who have gone before him.
So this house is named Tamatea ki te Huatahi. That's Tamatea, the only son of Wairaka, and he was born around about 1425, 1450, something like that. That's what, do the maths, 30-something generations ago. The reason why we're not venturing on is because can't get in today, and you can see the scaffold poles. Yeah. There's a sort of tapu whilst these carvings are undergoing restorations because it's the carvings of the ancestors. But anyway, thanks to this work we're doing using LiDAR, that's light, distance, and range finding, it's kind of high-tech stuff, 3D scanning, we can actually access places like this whare, which basically scan the interiors and the exteriors and the landscape into a digital space.
Anthony's work has also led him to investigate a construction technique used by Māori in pre-colonial times, but lost since then. He wants to bring it back.
There's a type of construction called post-tensioning. It's a bit like a tent, you know, put a tent up and you pull the guide ropes and it stiffens up the thing and it doesn't fly off. Before Europeans arrived in the country, Māori were building their whare, much like boats. That the first houses would have been overturned hulls, roped and lashed much like tents.
Yes.
And what happened is when Europeans arrived, nails and Black & Decker drills turned up and we stopped lashing the houses. So, you know, we've lost the techniques of construction which occurred before European contact. But we're trying to recapture them. We can do that with this technology of LiDAR and can connect the old world with the new world.
Anthony is working closely with Ngāti Era at Opotiki in the Bay of Plenty. Back in 1874, the iwi opened Tāne Whirinaki, one of the largest meeting houses of the time. This wharanui was dismantled in 1933, and its precious carvings stored on the marae. Many years later, though, it was discovered the carvings held clues to the lost post-tensioning technique Anthony is trying to revive.
Post-tensioning in timber construction could be very interesting in terms of how we build it here in the country, housing.
Yes.
Not just whare, but all housing, because of its resilience and seismic and natural hazard resilience.
You want to tie the old methods of the way things used to be done with the new methods.
Absolutely.
Now, 90 years after Tāne Whirinaki came down, Anthony is working with Ngāti Era to rebuild it using the post-tensioning technique. To do that, he must prove it meets modern building standards like earthquake resilience. If he succeeds, it will be a significant milestone for Māori architecture. It's been a lot for me to take in so far though, and I can only wonder what on earth Anthony's got for me next. Architect Anthony Hoete spent 30 years working overseas, mainly in the United Kingdom. But even from over there, he designed houses over here. In central Auckland, we're seeing one of his more modern projects, but one that still references the past.
So here we are in Ponsonby. You see a villas around here, weatherboarded, central doors.
Ponsonby is one of inner city Auckland's so-called villa suburbs, recognising the heritage value of the villa style of housing that's so predominant. Council restrictions apply to the modification or complete removal of many villas, and critically, what you're allowed to build here.
Oh, wow, that's certainly not old.
Yeah, that is the Villametre.
It's a futuristic take on a villa.
That's right, so that's a modern twist, literally a twist. That's the bay window leaning forward. You've got your central access there. You can see the horizontality of the verandas over there. You can see that in the panorama window.
Would have been quite hard to get through planning, wouldn't it?
Mate, it took 10 years to get through planning, 10 years. It's all weatherboard. It's got a weatherboard roof.
Unbelievable. The whole thing is wrapped in weatherboard.
Weatherboard.
Why did you do that?
We wanted as much as possible to go for a single material and execute it well. And it's also part of, I guess, my kind of kaupapa was that the Māori architect could execute and detail a house to the extreme. And so
The Villametre, the house designed to the millimetre.
Māori still struggle to get registered as architects today. The Villametre was a personal mission, sort of, you know, it's like crusade. It was kind of really, really important to be able to execute that job to a high degree of refinement from the other side of the planet. Obviously, we understood the heritage rules, which would produce a traditional house to the street, but to the back, it was the modernist villa blown out.
Kaboom! Wow. Oh, yeah. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, squeeze through and off the street, and then you explode out the back. It's a garden with no trees, Matthew. Huh? But it's all borrowed landscape.
You can call this a minimalist approach, can't you, really?
Yeah.
Mate, it is really, really striking, and how simple it is. I love how the bifold doors, like all the sliding doors, they just open the whole thing up.
If you step back,
cool.
watch out for the herbs.
Like, I
See some
love
mint
that
there?
roof, how it slopes down. Like from here, it looks like it's a spaceship. Like it's really bold,
Yeah.
it's really strong, but it's super sleek.
Yeah, and it's also tricky too. This is not just a job, it's a weatherboard roof. There's no gutters, they're all on the ground. So architecture is a combination of both craft and craftiness. And the craftiness is design intelligence, the traditional to the contemporary, but also the craft of being able to build it. You should come to one of my lectures.
No thanks.
That's right. A master bedroom with no curtains, but nobody can see in.
Isn't it? Like, it is really, really well done. Oh, look at that.
That is the ensuite.
Big shower, big skylight. It feels like a big house, but it doesn't look like a big house.
It's very, very compact. Actually, it's a very small site.
Really like it. I just want to have a look at the other bathroom. I caught a glimpse of this.
Yes, this is the swimming pool bathroom.
Like, I don't normally get super excited about bathrooms, you know, but this is cool as well. I mean, it's not big, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, so this is the bay window, just like down the road. It leans forward, projects out onto the street. It's a contemporary twist on the traditional feature of a bay window. Concealed, so you can see the windows without frames, you know, and their windows are concealed over. Yeah. So, you know. So we spent a bit of time on the windows.
Yeah, very sleek.
Yeah. So just, again, all that detailing just to hide. We didn't want to see a window frame.
Well, for me, I think you've absolutely smashed it out of the park with this house. Like, it just keeps delivering. The more you're in it, the more you see it, the more things it shows you.
Oh, thank you. Welcome.
I might come to one of your lectures.
The clients are still living there happy. The house still looks as good as it did 10 years ago when it was first built. So that's kind of important to see all those ideas get their maturation and their distillation. And also it's got a reverberance with the general public. Pretty proud of it.
Before Anthony Hoete returned to New Zealand to bring his skills and vision back home, he had made quite the name for himself overseas. In 2002, he established his own company in London, calling it Watt Architecture. Watt has been active in all sorts of residential and commercial projects and won a multitude of awards. But over time, Anthony grew frustrated by the many restrictions architects have to work within, or somehow try to beat.
There's a great maxim from Philip Johnson who said if you want to make great architecture, either marry rich or become the developer. Who holds the purse strings controls which materials, what type of scale, the mixes of housing, and that's all those strategic decisions happen usually before the architect receives the brief. So the real power lies before architecture. And so we pursued banks and started learning the craft of how to borrow money.
In 2011, Anthony bought a disused train station in the suburb of Shoreditch in London's East End. His concept was to build a unique kind of cost-effective housing that was also modern, warm, sustainable, and enjoyable to live in. Unfortunately, Anthony ran smack bang into the local council's heritage rules and would have had to make substantial design changes to have any chance of the project going ahead. After 3 years of frustrating debate, Anthony conceded defeat.
When I knew that Shoreditch wouldn't work, I looked for another opportunity elsewhere. I went cruising around looking for the next site.
Anthony's search eventually turned up a run-down property for sale in the southeast London suburb of Peckham. The building was named after the road it's on, Costa Street.
Man, it is cold.
And it's here he finally achieved his goal of creating modern, affordable housing under what he calls the golden triangle of being the developer, the architect, and the builder.
Oh, yes. That's very impressive. Very impressive.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, look at that, Bill. You can see that.
Yeah. The windows lean out. Yeah,
Like
leaning
it
out towards the
really
trees.
leans
So you
out.
see it, right?
That is just so different. I've never seen anything like that.
When you want to build taller, you lean the top part of the building back to reduce the visual appearance. But on the far side,
Goes out again.
yes, instead of leaning it in, like typically, we're leaning it out, and that maintains a bigger floor plate and also gets us up closer to the trees.
The building is split into 4 separate dwellings, and although we're on the other side of the world, Anthony's Kiwi influences are still on show.
I can see what you're doing here.
Yeah, so this is what we call in Māori a taiaha, which is a spear. And this particular taiaha is a casting of a taiaha given to my son. And so it's really important for me to have these Māori influences here in London because I've spent half of my life in this city and the other half back in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
I love your passion, mate.
Oh, thank you, mate.
It's so beautiful.
Anthony has created a hybrid of the typical London council flat and the terraced houses so common here. He's also taken inspiration from brutalism, an architectural style that emerged in the UK in the 1950s, a tough, urban form of modernism using hard, basic building materials.
Wow, I did not expect this. What a great space, how big it is, and all the, like the windows, and it's light, and the wood's awesome. It's modern, it's chic, and it's robust.
CLT.
CLT, explain CLT.
Well, I'll give you the ABC of CLT.
Please do.
It's cross-laminated timber, supersized plywood, no plasterboard. CLT, CLT, CLT. So it's the future of housing. The floors are 250 mil thick. Same with the walls are 100 mil thick. You can fabricate it in a factory, bring it to site, tilt it up, 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 up. We've got 5 floors up within a week. So it's quick. That means there's the road closures, disturbance to neighbours is actually minimal. And accurate too. The window cutouts are accurate to 1 millimetre, so you can order the windows at the same time as you're ordering the frame. No window linings, no skirtings. So this is social housing. What is social housing? It's affordable housing. It's not bling-bling housing. This housing is designed to the minimum spatial requirements, but it's using a technique which is hyper-modern. I mean, this is the future.
While CLT is still relatively new in the world of construction, it is quickly gaining recognition as a sustainable and viable alternative to traditional building materials. And Anthony has big plans to push its use back home.
New Zealand is a timber nation. Kaingaroa is the second largest man-made forest in the southern hemisphere. If we can stop exporting our logs and instead invest in processed timber, then we're off to a win-win situation.
I love your passion. This is genius. You've got your little posse in here. You can be making me a hot chocolate or something like that.
Or
whatever you like.
Power fritters or something like that.
But you're still part of the conversation.
That's right. It's about how can you take the minimum spatial requirements and get the maximum outcomes, yeah? So good outlooks, the garden that side, the street on the other side, all the heating through a solid floor, usually a stone finish for robustness.
I love it.
I've seen some impressive social housing projects in my time on Designing Dreams, but I tell you what, this is right up there.
Oh, now I know you. This is your masterpiece,
Oh,
isn't
mate,
it?
this is one of my favourite parts of the building. Lean into the trees.
Like you keep saying to me, it's social housing, which it is, but it's still high end. It might not be high end in terms of cost, but it's high end in terms of design.
Oh,
that's what I think.
Yeah, no, I think that is the value of the architect, being the developer and being in control of the finances and how you spend the money. So we decided we'd spend the money on this. We weren't going to spend it on plasterboard. We weren't going to spend it on window frames. We were going to spend it on the best possible windows, the biggest possible windows, and lean out into experiences you wouldn't normally get. But to do that in a manner makes it affordable.
Oh, I love it. Oh, look at that.
Check this out, man.
Oh, that's like James Bond.
Social housing.
Far out. This is so cool. Look how beautiful this is. This is unbelievable. Who would have thought, in the middle of London, you've popped out this deck? Unreal.
Yeah, this is my little rooftop par terrace.
It is an ode to the
a little
par, isn't
palisade.
it?
Had the final bit of domestic defence with the palisades at the top.
Exactly. I don't know how they're going to get up here through here anyway.
No,
especially not when we're up here. For a boy all the way from New Zealand, you've done extremely well.
Oh, yeah, no, cheers, man.
If you can do this in London, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world for real estate, surely you can take the ideas that you've got here, which are genius, back to New Zealand. And
Mate, you know, that's what we're saying. If we can do it in London,
yeah,
we must be able to do it in NZ, you know? The whole idea was to take this innovation home and change the game. Designing Dreams isn't about designing $1 million houses, man. Designing Dreams is about doing the best social outcome for those generations who will never be able to afford to even buy a house, but yet they still can live in the best domestic spaces ever, yeah? And that's what the real dream is about, Matthew.
beautiful.
Architect Anthony Hoete has taken me on quite the journey so far, here and in London, and I've been blown away by his passion and vision. And one of his big ideas to cope with the big problem has brought us here to Northland.
We're here to look at the landscape. It's made me think of an Australian house which was designed to mitigate flood risk, called the Queenslander. You might be familiar. Didn't you play footy up that way?
I know the Queenslander well. It's off the ground, sort of stilt-like, with a big veranda around it.
That's it.
Beautiful.
We have the pole house in New Zealand, but that's often on stilts because it's on the side of a hill.
Yes.
But the Queenslander was always built on flatland, lifting it up out of the flooding, away from the creepy crawlies. And I've been thinking about, can we find a New Zealand version? A Kiwi Lander. So that's why I brought you out here, because I think I might have found one.
Kiwi Lander.
A Kiwi Lander, yes.
So we're going to see a Queenslander in New Zealand.
That's it.
If I'm going to play the game of architect, why not transfer a lot of those learnings around innovation, construction, entrepreneurship, and see if I can apply them into the local context. Māori, New Zealand, housing. Today, one of the biggest changes we're seeing is around climate change, you know. And of course, the way we build housing today has to respond in a resilient way to the hazardscape.
This particular Kiwi Lander is triangular in plan form.
Yeah.
What's nice is that the difficult bits of the triangular plan, the corners, are outdoor. The stuff I'm really interested in is actually the armpit of the house, the undercroft. You know, we see that football over there, you see the gas bottles, you see the laundry, you see the swings, you see the woody wood pile over there. And it's that functionality, that outdoor functionality, what I'm really interested in. What is underneath is still kind of dry, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
If it gets wet.
It doesn't, does it? You know?
Exactly right.
So there you go, Matthew. Look at all the space. You've got capacity, storage. Houses just don't have enough storage in.
That's
you know.
right.
And look, the front door in the floor.
The front door and the floor.
That's it.
No front door.
No front door. It's
Okay.
The Kiwi Lander.
The Kiwi Lander with no front door.
That's right. Just come on in, friendly.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's spectacular.
Look at it.
But what a magnificent view, isn't that beautiful? This
your
reminds me of when I used to go to kindergarten.
Brilliant.
And I haven't seen one of these for a long time.
Very simple. It's a string onto chain link, onto almost like a scaffolding pole tubing.
And the same thing with the batten wood.
Yeah.
Nothing flashed.
If you look around, the material's actually quite, there's a sort of paucity about the selection. It's not a smorgasbord of materials, you know.
At only 86 square metres, you could describe this house as a rural apartment. It doesn't feel small though, because of the clever design and the widescreen views. And I take Anthony's point in bringing me here. This is a future-proof, cost-effective home that has everything it needs and nothing it doesn't.
It's the same thing, look. Absolute economy of means, maximum effect for minimum outlay. The plywood ceiling floats outside.
But that's just plywood.
That's right, and that's kitchen cabinetry. You see, imagine like the joinery order is very simple, isn't it? It's plywood.
But it actually looks really cool. It doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look. It looks and it's fit for purpose. It's clever design, but it's not expensive.
I know, that's right.
That's a real key. I
And
reckon.
I'm glad you bought into it because I know you've got a lifestyle of en-suites, but this house.
That's not true either.
This house has got one
I have had a
bathroom.
lifestyle of en-suites.
Wait, yeah, no, but this house has got one bathroom. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, one bathroom. So it's fantastic. And look, you know, look around. Look at the panoramas.
Anthony's message here is a simple one. Prioritise what you need and what matters, and eliminate or at least minimise anything you're not that fussed about. And while Anthony's focused on good design and affordability, he's also conscious housing must protect us from the sort of climatic disasters that are now all too common. He believes the Kiwi Lander concept has a lot to offer.
What I'm really seeing and what really excites me about the sort of Kiwi Lander is the possibility for marae and papakainga. Why couldn't we get our vehicles underneath, sort of hide the vehicles from view, put our utility underneath, recreational spaces, refrigeration, storage, all underneath, and actually have our kitchens and our wharekai and sleeping areas up, elevated off the whenua.
What I really like about Anthony is he not only talks the talk, he walks the walk as well. And his philosophical concepts and big ideas often transition to reality. And here in the Bay of Plenty, one of his bold and brave plans is starting to fall into place. He's taking the Kiwi Lander kaupapa and all his ideas around that and turning them into real-world solutions for his whānau.
So we're working in Te Teko, my capital of the Māori world, because of its high concentrations of marae and 95% Māori population. We're in the whenua of the rivers, the big ones, and so just over there we have the rangataiki, over here we have the tarawera, and a lot of this land is almost below sea level. It used to be marshes, it's been drained since colonisation. Rivers have been diverted, and so it's really at flood risk. 5 kilometres over here, we saw the rangataiki burst its banks in 2017. But this is where Te Puakakaho want to do their papakainga. We're looking to lift marae off the ground and also to lift papakainga off the ground. And that elevation above the floodplain makes them more resilient to flooding.
The more realistic or the better it suits your needs, the better the output will be. Yeah.
What Anthony's work does for us is actually help us shift back to our own ideology. That helps serve key things that we're striving to achieve for our people. As we were displaced off our land through colonisation, we find the potential for that to happen again as a result of climate change. With the type of material and designs that Anthony is bringing to the iwi, we believe that we can survive in our own lands and not be displaced a second time, and that's really our aspiration.
So this one's got a whare in the middle, which was kind of like a place where I guess people could gather.
The importance of the papakainga is really drawing our people back, because a lot of whānau have moved away. You know, urbanisation came in and they moved away, and so there was a disconnection. And so what we're wanting to do is bring back that reconnection.
Quieter spaces.
Yeah.
That's phone-free spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a place where we'll learn, where we breathe and we live by our values.
We've been too controlled around our housing.
Well, that's right, and it's all just...
Māori have been really controlled about how they can live. I mean, we've only just now been able to open up the whenua so we can build on it without too much hassle.
I feel really privileged to have met Anthony, because what he's done is he's allowed us to become really creative in our thinking and what we want to do. I think because he's Māori, he understands, you know, we don't have to try and explain, he just gets it. And so the journey's quite fluid, we kind of just roll with what's going, yeah. It's like our river. Hey.
Anthony may have spent most of his professional life so far in Europe, but his priorities are now focused on what he can do where his roots lie, with his whānau in rural Aotearoa. I admire his creative thinking, his energy and commitment, and his pragmatic approach to getting things done.
To me, transcolonisation is accepting where we're at today, yeah? And that is therefore transforming our colonised place into a better outcome. And of course it's really exciting, but it's only exciting if we don't just do the paperwork. The real excitement comes in the delivery, and to take all those lessons about the architect as the developer, the architect as the contractor, and actually have built outcomes for the community. Can't do any better work, you know. For me, it's a dream come true, you know. To be designing dreams, to be taking these papakainga back to that whānau in a place like Te Teko. I mean, this is as good as the job will ever get.
When I first met Anthony Hoete on Motiti Island in the Bay of Plenty, he inspired me with his passion for Māori architecture and his quest to rediscover lost building methods from the past. Today, he's intent on making a long-held dream a reality. He's created a prototype for testing the post-tensioning technique called mimiro, used by the Ngāti Ira when building their meeting house, Tāne Whirinaki, 150 years ago.
The reason we're building these structural frames out of timber is so I've got a proof of concept. We know the construction works, and that'll convince the councils to give us some permissions to go and build it in the reconstruction of Tāne Whirinaki.
If the post-tensioning technique can be approved for use in the 21st century, then Anthony hopes the rebuilding of Tāne Whirinaki is only the start. He wants to revolutionise the way we build marae, using cost-effective methods and ancestral knowledge.
It's really exciting when you know you're on the cusp of something new and innovation, even more so in this case because it's Māori. So here's an opportunity to show Māori as constructionists, architects, also as engineers. This is to show the whare as a house of technology.
So what we have here is a popo made out of exotic wood, laminated and glued together. That's an interpretation of the original mimiro, but also something more close to what we saw at Costa Street, you know, the technology of mass engineering. We've also got these heke, you can see banana shape, also glue and digitally cut and fabricated off-site. No nails. There's a special joint here called the rua whetū joint. And then across over the top, we've got the post-tensioning system, but like plucking a guitar string as we tension it up. We tension it up with these grinders. So we would apply some tensioning here by ratcheting this up. So the timber structure will move, and its movement will be detected by the independent scaffolded frame with all the cables in it, which go back to Sonny, our doctoral student for the School of Engineering, record it on the laptop, and we'll be able to see dynamic movement. That's the movement of the frame, and from that we will be able to get really good information about the validity and the potency of Māori architectonics in today, and it's fantastic. And what can we do with this? Well, it's open-ended. Aircraft hangars, supermarkets, warehouses, housing, and that's the real benefit. It's the future it offers for housing, and that is a really exciting thing.
So a huge day for Anthony, but equally for the people of Ngāti Ira, who've waited 90 years to rebuild their revered wharenui. If they can do so with the post-tensioning technique their ancestors used, then that's massive.
For Anthony and him to get us to this today, oh man, I'm just overwhelmed, I'm just overwhelmed. They never looked at the house, they didn't even want to look in the shed where all the carvings are. It was a tapu thing. But seeing this structure up here now, some of the whānau are coming up and they just overwhelmed in how huge it is, and it's going to be a big thing for having Tāori Pūnakia. It's going to be a big thing.
Okay.
5.
This is your job.
It's showing the genius of our tepuna, really. And it's about bringing back that knowledge and keeping that dream alive, I guess, for those that had passed. And it's our responsibility to continue this line of work and keep that knowledge going.
Even though we're about to start the test, there is a certain amount of anxiety. What if it doesn't work? What if the whole thing falls to bits?
No pressure then. Well, apart from the pressure about to be applied to the structure, remember, none of it is nailed or bolted together.
Keep winding. Look, so we see here. Right, so here we go now.
The tension is ratcheted up to test both horizontal and vertical strength. When the tension is suddenly released, the effect will be equal to a major earthquake. So equal to what modern buildings have to be able to withstand.
Yep.
Well, I can't see it falling to bits.
Unbelievable. Game changer. Basically proven that this ancient Māori construction technique is the future of earthquake resilience in New Zealand and beyond.
Well, what a trip this has been. In a word, inspirational. Anthony's great fun to be around, but when it comes to finding real answers to some very big questions, he takes the responsibilities of his profession very seriously indeed.
Architecture has become a slightly larger part of my life than, say, for the average architect. But that's only because it's got the extra burden of the social outcomes. That's what drives me. There's always someone who's going to need better housing, or just housing per se. So I feel strongly about responding to that call, and that is the societal duty of architecture.